उनको बोलो कि लगा Holiness, we need to put this.
Okay.
I'll ask them to help you. कैसे?
I know.
I can switch this on.
No.
Oh,
I know.
I didn't know that. अच्छा. So should I wait? I'll wait. Okay.
His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Singh, His Excellency Lobsang Sangye, Prime Minister of Tibetan Government in Exile, our distinguished guests from the Mind and Life Institute, Professor Arthur Ziens, Professor Richard Davidson, Geshe Thupten Jinpa, Professor Tanya Singer, Professor Samten, Vice Chancellor, Central Tibetan University, Tempa Shering, representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in New Delhi, my team members, teachers, colleagues from the university, students and guests. It's a great honor and a privilege to welcome you all to this very special dialogue. To begin the proceedings, can I request that the Vice Chancellor present a small token of appreciation to His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Holiness, we need your blessings for this university and for civil society. Please.
Thank you.
As I was driving down this morning, I realized, like all of you would have realized, that this is a misty, foggy morning. And therefore, one had to be careful that there may not be an accident. One needs to put one's lights on and be careful. But if sunshine were to descend, the mist would clear, we'd all be clear-eyed, and then we could get to where we want to get to without getting in each other's way, without having any accidents. All you need is clear-sightedness and perception. And this is why we're having this dialogue today. It's only when we have the presence of someone like the Dalai Lama, with the sunshine of his wisdom, that the mists and the veils of ignorance that may obscure our sight, we have hope that that may be dispelled. India, of course, has a very long tradition of engaging in such dialogues. You can imagine that in the universities of Nalinda and Takshila and Vikramshila, you would have had gatherings of this sort in their council halls and much larger gatherings with scholars like Nagarjuna and Chandrakriti engaging in vociferous debate about what life is all about. Is there a purpose to life? If so, what? How are we supposed to live with clear eyes, with warmth in our heart, and smiles on our faces? In recent times, though, Indian universities have stopped asking these fundamental questions. India as a nation searched for these answers and engaged with these questions, not century after century, but millennia after millennia. But somehow, post-independence, Indian universities have concerned themselves almost exclusively with how to make a living. So become a doctor or an engineer or a scientist or a management man, earn money. What does one do with the money? How does one approach life? And if we needed a reminder of the importance of such things, we've had it in the last fortnight in this city. The city has been convulsed by violence of the most heinous kind against a young girl. And although the law has to be strengthened, it's quite clear that unless we engage with cultural matters, we talk about ethics, then these problems cannot be solved by law alone. It is in this spirit that about a fortnight ago, in this very hall, the Academic Council, which is the highest academic body of this university, resolved that as part of the 4-year program, we shall have a course for everybody, a year-long course divided in 2 semesters, on integrating body, mind, and heart. Integrating body, mind, and heart, where we as a university, teachers and students engage with issues of self-reflection, self-awareness, and ethics. This, of course, is a major challenge. India is a secular country. People from all religions who may have diverse viewpoints at times, and therefore certain things may be sensitive. And how, in such an environment, in a meaningful way, not in terms of lip service, but in a meaningful way, how do we talk about ethical issues? So a huge challenge in front of us. How do we structure this course? And none other than His Holiness and the Vice-Chancellor know better people to guide us in this respect. His Holiness, of course, needs no introduction, but I'm sure all of you know by now, he's the honorary professor at this university. So he's our very own, and that's his most distinguished credential as far as I'm concerned. And our Vice-Chancellor, who is also a most remarkable Vice-Chancellor, I don't think for decades we've had a Vice-Chancellor who has dared to talk about ethics, about Gandhi, about Kabir, about Guru Nanak, in almost every lecture, every interview, every television presentation that he's done. People have shied away, thinking that they may be branded in one way or the other. But every time the Vice-Chancellor has got up to speak, he's first rooted his remarks in an ethical base, a secular ethical base, but a warm-hearted ethical base. So it's a great pleasure and privilege to have this dialogue today being opened by a dialogue between His Holiness and the Vice-Chancellor on how ethics and issues of self-awareness, self-reflection, the broader aspects of life, how we can talk about this meaningfully in the university, how we can build a course around it, what would the challenges be. And then in the afternoon sessions, thanks to His Holiness, we have some very distinguished scientists from the Mind and Life Institute, which is an institute established by His Holiness to bring together science, ethics, and education, and we'll hear from them. And hopefully, by the end of the day, the fog would have lifted. So can I now request the Vice-Chancellor and His Holiness to begin this dialogue. Sir.
Thank you, Holiness. Your Holiness, Prime Minister Sangay, colleagues, students, I am fully conscious that I'm not in a position to carry out a dialogue with His Holiness. I'm here, like everybody else, to learn from him. I realized that this university is blessed because His Holiness has a special place in his heart for this university. And I mentioned to him today that Mahatma Gandhi used to visit this university, this building. It wasn't a university then. He used to visit this building very often. And His Holiness remarked that this is a blessed building. We are twice blessed, Holiness, that Gandhiji and you both visit this building. I do not know in what manner we take advantage, but the biggest advantage that we derive by your presence, Holiness, is that there is a certain cleansing of our souls. The word we use in Hindi, Holiness, is Atma Shuddhi. And I honestly do not know where I stand in the eyes of God. There is always this huge, huge doubt in my mind that I will not pass His test. But I know that the first prerequisite to even qualify to be tested is to learn to be humble. And I do not know if I am humble on other occasions, but whenever, Holiness, you visit us, a feeling of humility descends on me. And I believe it descends on all of us. And I sincerely hope that it lasts, it makes us better people, and we move forward so that this university can serve society. Sometimes we forget. When we arm ourselves with qualifications, high-sounding degrees, supposedly great research, that we know everything, that we are better, we are greater, and we delude ourselves. And that danger must always be avoided. The role of a university is to serve the needs of society and to give it direction. And that, I feel, quite often is not served by universities generally. If you will permit me, Holiness, I wish to make a reference without casting aspersions on any great institution either in the East or the West. But for the last few years, the world has witnessed an economic meltdown, which has caused enormous misery, pain to the common man in many parts of the world. And what little I have understood, I am not an expert, Holiness, but what I have understood, largely that misery, that financial meltdown seems to have come from the products of a handful of universities of the West. I do not know what learning they gave those MBAs, those economists, those lawyers, but collectively they destroyed the financial markets of the world. And I do not know. When I examine carefully, often I find, Holiness, that no law has been broken. But I always find that the moral law has been broken, Holiness. They violate the moral law. And I don't know who will teach us this moral law. Where will it, should it spring from the heart? I remember, Holiness, when I was in school, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, the frontier Gandhi, came here and I went to listen to him, Holiness. And he said, there is no magic bullet. It's a simple rule. He exhorted us in India to follow the moral law as enunciated by Gandhiji. But he said, when you don't listen to Gandhiji, why will you listen to me? And Holiness, who are we in this university to ask anyone to listen? And I worry, who will teach us this law? And Holiness, Mahatma Gandhi was extremely fond of an industrialist, a capitalist by the name of Jamnalal Bajaj. And Gandhi used to always say, he is my fifth son. And Jamnalal Bajaj used to make profits for his company. That was not a dirty thing, but Bajaj used it for the welfare of society. And Holiness Mahatma Gandhi's spiritual guru was a diamond merchant of Surat. He was a successful diamond merchant. And he was the one, Holiness, who gave Gandhiji a spiritual law. Then where is it that in this time and age we have faltered? And I want to put these things into our syllabi, our curriculum. But I do not know if this will work, Holiness. And that is where, once again, I turn to men like Gandhi and you. I sincerely hope. Gandhi always said, Holiness, that in education, what you do with your hands will enter your heart. That we must get our students and ourselves, unless we show the way, the students will not do this. That they must work with their hands, literally and metaphorically. They must put knowledge to use. I only hope that with your visit here today and in times to come, we will find a way to somehow transform knowledge for practical uses, and students will use their hands. And then their hearts will be cleaned. Sometimes I feel, Holiness, for people like me, it is too late. But maybe the young ones here, they will transform themselves and they will take the way forward. So, Holiness, I request you to show us the way. Anything that you tell us here will give us some light. I request you.
I thought you speak longer.
We are here to listen to you, Holiness.
Brothers and sisters, I feel extremely great honor and feel happy. The group of people here, I think, with great potential. To create, I think, new ways, new way of approach to build happy society, happy family, happy individual. The existing education system, of course, although I have the name of honorary professors of these things, here also in a lot of degrees, and also the Emory University. I always describe myself hopeless professor. But actually, my knowledge, knowledge and experience about modern education is almost zero, nothing. But you see, it seems now, as you mentioned, the global economic crisis. Out of my own curiosity, I asked my friend, I think a millionaire and a businessman. So my sort of the curiosity is, these people, day and night, always thinking about economy, money. I think in dream also, I think they must be dreaming about how to make money like that. But then, these people created this kind of problem. I asked, what is the causes of this sort of global economic crisis? You are expert in this field. But then, if you fail to achieve sort of your wish or your goal, why? Then some of them, as you told me, firstly, greed, too much greed. And then, without knowing, because of the truth or the reality, they simply create speculation. So some other describe me that this crisis also is due to ignorance. So therefore, this economic crisis also is ultimately related with deeper deeper level in our mind, not just knowledge. I think ultimately sense of responsibility and holistic view. Due to lack of that, is this crisis. Nobody wants this crisis, but created by ourselves, as you mentioned. So now, the existing modern education system, seems not complete, something lacking. Look, west, east, south, north. I think everywhere you see people make every attempt to see the improvement of education. So every nation, every individual is fully recognized education is so important. As a result, I think each year the number of educated people increasing. However, at the human level, or society level, or family level, a lot of crisis. Now, I think the one, these, the shooting, killing, senselessly. And then those rich people, economically very influential people, they are in the economy field, these things, very successful. But as a human being, a very unhappy person, I notice some of them. And deep inside, too much stress, too much worry, and loneliness. And then, now I think I may say quite frankly, even among the religious people, I think I myself, I think not spoil. Because I learned now, some kind of name, and quite often is on throne. So then this is some the past teacher always say, when your name a little bit higher, that you must pay more attention, your humbleness. So I suppose I practice these things. So in any way, even religious leaders, Buddhist, Christian, Islam, Jews, I think practically Hindus, everywhere. Suppose you see teaching moral things, but they themselves, their real life not go according to that principle which they mentioning. So sometimes I often publicly telling, religion sometimes become technique to practice of hypocrisy, saying nice thing, reality, life, just a normal, or just opposite what they're teaching. Now, I think now in Delhi, the capital of India, most Indian families, Indians, I think comparatively, I think religious-minded. And these leaders or politicians or many religious-minded. I think each family has some statue of Ganesh or the Shiva Linga, like that, or Saraswati. They always offer in morning some flower, some incense, and recite some shloka. But their real life, they don't care about corruption, about injustice, injustice activities there. What's wrong? So therefore, sometimes I really feel, you see, you, Indian, historically, our guru, we are chela of you. Some knowledge here simply learned from you. You are sort of past, your ancestor. So I always describe relation between Indian and Tibetans, our relation between guru and chela. Chela means student. So sometimes I proudly used to telling, we are not only chela, but quite reliable chela. Reason, our guru's own land, lot of ups and downs, and particularly Buddhism, Buddhist knowledge, Nalanda knowledge. So during this period, we, your chela, really kept intact. So that shows we are quite reliable chela. Sometimes guru behave a little bit different. Sometimes I really feel a little sad. India, generally religious-minded nation, had these corruptions. About 2-3 years ago, in Jodhpur, as usual, I talk to some students. One student asked me, at the moment, he carries study. So after finished study, when he joined real life, and he put the question, unless I involve corruption, I cannot lead properly my life. I really shocked. One young schoolboy, that kind of impression in the society. Then just after a few days, I was in Bombay. I met some business man. He also, told me, unless you involve corruption, your business work will not success. So now that's some kind of exist in this country. That kind of that almost become way of life. It's very serious. Now we cannot remain as of that. Because I think it's just an indifferent way. Indifferent. And then worldwide, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of problems, a lot of killing, a lot of crisis. I think even like the Gaza, Syria, these things, or recent sort of event in Delhi. Actually, yesterday I met some sort of local media people, Sarnath. One used to ask me that, and I told that case, due to certain factor, is much publicized. Otherwise, for such case, I think in big cities, in rural area, I think quite often you see such things will happen. And then murder. I think like Delhi, I think few millions of population. I think every day, I think some murders always happen. Then also is in rural area. And I think the worst thing, I think one factor is the racial discrimination. I think those sort of, also the poor sort of the races were low caste, sometimes too much exploitation, not too much sort of showing some sort of respect. So still India, compare the world level, I think India is the only country where the 1,000-year-old concept of ahimsa is part of your life, part of your also the culture. With that, tolerance among different religious faiths also very alive. So religious harmony. Here, I always make clear, beside the homegrown different religious tradition, like Sangha, which before Buddhism come, and some other sort of few more sort of different school of thought, ancient Hindus. Then Buddhism came, then Jainism came. Then later, Sikhism. The Sikhism, actually, Guru Nanak paid pilgrimage to Mecca. Clearly shows, you see, the one Hindu respect Islam. So these are, I think, a product of India's 1,000-year-old sort of religious harmony, mutual respect, mutual understanding. And of course, in media, sometimes you see there's some the shocking news. Some Hindu burned some missionary car, or some sort of the Hindus, and also you see burn some Muslims or train. So these sometimes it become because of news. So one time, or now too long, I think okay, this is more sort of I think casual talk, not serious. I never sort of feel I am something special. If I I emphasize there's some kind of differences. I'm Buddhist, I'm Tibetan, then furthermore I'm Dalai Lama. Then that kind of feeling actually create wall between you and me. When I give talk, few individual, or talk with few hundred or few thousand, or even if it's 100,000, I never feel I'm something different. I always feel we are same. I think that's important. That's why you see, I always say, when I start my talk, I always use the word of brothers, sisters. No differences. So now, our task is think about humanity. How can we build healthier human society, happier society? Not through prayer. If through prayer bring a better world, then I think must is already achieved. Last, I think, 3,000-4,000 years, people always pray to God or to Buddha, to Allah, like that. So I think, anyway, with respect, all these sort of higher being, that since the higher being, we request always, but fail. So now time comes, we have to carry our responsibility. So let higher being some rest. I think sometimes I really feel, you see, the problem, so complicated. So God may confuse how to solve that. So we human beings ourselves, now time comes, we must solve this problem. So basically India, the 1,000-year-old sort of concept of ahimsa there. 1,000-year-old is the concept of religious harmony there. These are your great potential. Now, on these sort of your culture, sort of background, now we must, and then I think one special thing about India, as a result of my discussion with Dr. Advani, he told me, India, 1,000 years, is the concept of secular. So secular means not only respect all religions, but also respect non-believer, nihilist. So he clearly sort of mentioned the example. I think you know the one school of thought, Charvaka. Charvaka is denying existence of God or spirituality or next life or karma, just deities like that. I think extreme radical materialist. So he mentioned Charvaka. On theoretical level, the rest of sort of Indian sort of they criticize or condemn even, but to the person who hold that view, refer Rikshi. Rikshi means sage, respect. So he told me like that. So then, as you mentioned, this country, when independent, you got independence. In this country, multi-religious sort of community, multi-culture. Therefore, according to that reality, secular is the most sort of the suitable sort of way. So India's constitution based on secular sort of concept. So I think in the West, sometimes I feel, or sometimes some friend, some Christians, some Muslim. When I used the word secular, so they a little bit sort of reservation. So some of my friends even say, better to use that word. So they have, and then also it's a few occasions when I discuss the moral ethics must be based on religious faith or not. Even late Pope, I asked. So many people, believe any moral principle must be based on religious faith. So then difficult. What faith? So a lot of complicated. And then non-believer, no basis of moral ethics. So just, I think, a few weeks ago, one Indian paper mentioned out of 7 billion, over 1 billion human being, non-believer. That means, I think, less, around 6 billion, suppose, believer. But then, as I mentioned earlier, those people who claim Christian or Jews or Buddhist or Hindu, the reality, not much serious about their own sort of religious teaching. So in reality, these people also, I think we can account non-believer, essentially. So then I think out of around 6 billion believer, I think quite a big portion, essentially non-believer. I think these young people, I think you watch your own parent with respect. They're religious-minded, always pray to God, or Shivaji, or Ganesh, like that. Mainly, sometimes I jokingly telling my Indian friend, you're praying to God or to Shivaji, almost like, my corrupted work should be successful. How can? Impossible. If among the heaven, God's word, some corruption there, then maybe okay. Pray to those corrupted God. Please help me. My corrupt work be successful. No, impossible. So therefore, now we must find ways and means, you see, to build the concept of ethics without touching on religious faith. This is not against religion. Actually, serving religion. All major religions, you see, teach practice of love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, all these things. So this secular ethics is the basis of all these sort of practice. So therefore, which actually something like the secular ethics is this something like a foundation. Once secular ethics there, then different religious sort of tradition, good soil, then you can plant using different thing, then grow well. If the basic soil is rocky, not that good, then how can Kasada plant using sort of crops or sort of different things? So therefore, so now secular in this country, not something strange. You already sort of knows that. So I think India, really Kasada, suitable sort of land make Kasada had the promotion of secular ethics. So now, how can develop that? Few lecture, not sufficient. Few meeting, not sufficient. In our existing education field, sometimes I describe the hygienes also, you see, include in existing education sort of because of the curriculum. Hygiene, isn't it? Hygiene for physical. So now, hygiene of emotion, hygiene of mind should be. I think some hard scientists, you see, even you see little sort of some questions whether there is mind or not. Recently, I met one Japanese sort of scientist, brain specialist. Now, he does not sort of believe there is mind, only particles here. The meantime, he also experienced a lot of worry. So that is something living thing in his mind. That worry not come through injection or put some new cells here. No. So in any way, so therefore, you see the education, something like hygiene, taking care of our body, similarly taking care of our mind. So in early period, life and because of mind and life sort of our meeting, sometimes you see you use the word dialogue between Buddhism and science. And I felt that is wrong. Dialogue with scientists, not Buddhism. But from Buddhist literature, a lot of explanation about mind, about emotion. Then also you see there are because of quite rich sort of different method how to deal with these different sort of mind, different emotion. So that considered as a science. So I made correction. Instead of using word dialogue between Buddhism and science, no. Buddhist science and modern science. We are never talking about next life or about nirvana or salvation or God, these things. So ethics not based on religious sort of concept. Simply, you see, they analyze our reality. Now main sort of responsibility is not my responsibility, but my colleague scientists. They have the sort of the responsibility to investigate, to research healthy mind, develop healthy body. So just the day before yesterday, I had sort of dialogue with I think talk the similarities or differences about Christianity and Buddhism with Father Lawrence. So since I know him, so I always make joke. You see his sort of head, bald head, right? And I always remember my own tutor, to whom I received is a Bhikshu Wow, my main teacher. So he also is a bald ray. And my junior tutor, always teasing him. He's bald because bald hat like that. So I also see teasing. Now I would like to mention through training of mind, new hair, that I don't know. But through training of mind, 100% sure your mental state becoming much calmer, much peaceful. So that is a very, very important element for good health. So some scientists, they say the constant fear, this constant anger, hatred, actually eating our immune system. On the other hand, I think on one occasion, one sort of scientist told our meeting, which university, I think Sanjibudaya, they mentioned, according to his sort of research, his finding, those people who often use word I, me, mine. Which university? New York. Oh. He mentioned, according to his finding, so those people who often used to say I, these people have greater risk of heart attack. So, although he didn't explain, I felt, oh, it is true. The person who often, you see, express these words, I. You see, in mental or psychological, in their extreme self-centered attitude there. I think provided that person, I think, should be honest. Otherwise, again, hypocrisy. You see, inside, extreme self-centered attitude, but from mouth, say, oh, compassion. That also is possible, isn't it? Some people, you see, never use I. We, barbe, kashe the duai. So I think that's true. When too much self-centered attitude, then actually world becomes very small. Even small sort of negative things happen, unbearable. If they're thinking, we, entire humanity, part of us, part of we, then individual problem will not be significant. So that I think the mental sort of system like that. So I often used to telling people, all major religious tradition where is the emphasis, importance of love and compassion, forgiveness, these things. I think actually they realize the self-centered attitude is the source of problem. Therefore, the theistic religions use method, single-pointed faith to God or Allah, you yourself consider the part of his creation. So I am nothing important. So that single single-pointed faith reduces the self-centered arrogance. Whereas Buddhist way of approach is no Atma, Anatma. Now that's the main demarcation. Ancient non-Buddhist tradition and Buddhist tradition. So the Buddhist the purpose of that theory is try to reduce the self-centered arrogance. So other theistic religion use faith. So I think all major religious tradition, directly or indirectly, they recognize the real troublemaker is here, not outside. So now, ethics, secular basis or secular way to approach ethics without touching religion. Now, main reason, I usually say 3 points. Number one, judging our experience. We all come from our mother. I think I'm quite sure. All these is among us, those people who have very kind mother and also spend longer period with mother and have opportunity mother's milk more. I think in deep inside, that person is much happier than those people outwardly very successful. But at the time of the child were very, very young, or childhood, lack of mother's affection, or separate from mother, or sometimes I think unwanted child, or abuse. No matter how successful, in deep inside, sense of insecurity, fear. So such people, I think, find it difficult to trust other people. Always a little bit cautious. So the compassion is a sense of respect, sense of love, other affection. First, we received from our mother's affection. Mother cultivated seed of that human affection. Clear? Not come through religion, not come through law, but by nature, it's a biological factor. Then second reason, common sense. Of course, few short moments of the meeting, we do not know, but spent, weeks, months, years, then we know, this family, very happy family, this family, unhappy family. Happy, unhappy, not much is due to money or power, but ultimately, more compassionate mind. Then obviously, the system is the fear. Mainly is come from other. Where suspicion, distrust there, then fear come. And also recently I saw one article wrote by one American scientist. People who tell lies quite often incite much more stress. They're quite true. I always was telling, I myself, in 1951 till 58, beginning of 59, with our liberator, Chinese communist. We need a little hypocrisy. So saying, although the comrade always stress, must be frank. But if you too frank, then you will be casualty. Right? So therefore, you see, be careful. Certain minor thing, you see, we can be frank. But more serious matter and hypocrisy. In deep inside, some reservation. But face and the word must say, oh, wonderful, fantastic. So I also learned how to practice of hypocrisy. So 17th March 1959, about Lhasa time, 10 p.m., 17th March 1959, I escaped from Nobulinga. The next day, we already reached southern Tibet, no Chinese soldier. Although that night, really sort of much fear, with feeling whether next day, whether we can see or not. Really, very serious matter. But there's no other choice, escape. So then next day, we already now some kind of liberation, practice of hypocrisy. So the next day, my mother, I think about afternoon, my mother joined, and my elder sister and some other people used to join. Then we openly criticized about Chinese communist policy. Till then, you see, we were very much cautious. Like that. So these days, when I meet some Chinese from mainland China, I always telling them, they themselves also, you see, the hypocrisy is become part of their life. One time in Delhi, I met some Chinese, young Chinese, some students, some sort of city, some staff, some company. That's, I think at least 10, 15 years ago. So they told me, now in China, so we already have some kind of, sort of habit telling something different. The real feeling here always keeps secret. It's true. So as a result, not happy, much anxiety, much fear. So therefore, the real sort of trust, much sort of fear, these things come from other. Once we develop genuine sense of concern of their well-being, then the very sources of fear no longer there. Clear? Then immediately consider other as the same human being. Immediately, see, you can communicate that person very easily, like a long-time old friend. That's my own experience. Also, I know that. So therefore, sense of concern of others' well-being automatically, you see, reduce fear. No fear, no frustration, no anger. With the concern of their well-being, that also creates a positive atmosphere. So that family become much happier. Like that. So now that's our common sense. Now, and some extent, the scientists now, they found through their investigation, those I may call them as a colleague. I think a lot of our sort of work since few decades. So I would like to call them as my colleagues, our colleague. So they, through their sort of expertise to investigate, about human health, about human brain, they found warm-heartedness is very positive factor. So the third most important is scientific finding. These three things now. Common experience, common sense, then scientific findings. These three things are basis for building the Kasoda, Consumindada, the education about moral ethics, not relying on religion. So now the question is, as I mentioned earlier, education is the universal. So once we put in education field, as I mentioned earlier, hygiene for our physical, hygiene for our mind. That also not just a simple say, compassion is good. Not that way. Of course, I have not much because of knowledge, but I feel, first I usually call map of mind. In order to carry hygiene of physical, more explanation about virus or these things. Through that way, we can go detailed about physical hygiene. So similarly, firstly, about mind, a different level of mind. These, I think, usually day and night we experiencing, but we simply they sort of no pay attention. What's that? What's that nature? What it come? How it come? What's the system? So here, I think we should some explanation. That's a truly academic subject. No concept of good or bad. Simply mentioned about mind or the different level of mind and different sort of the capacity of different minds. So something like map of mind. Then further explanation, the connection, anger, how to develop, how develop. And the opposition of anger, such things are by nature contradiction, because contradictory way, counterforce. So since this is by nature, there's a contradiction. So if you want something to reduce, you have to increase the contradictory sort of other mental element. That's the only way. So through that way, now the scientific findings, angers, fears, hatred, these things are very bad. Not only peace of mind or happy mind, but also very bad for our health. That's scientific sort of now basis for explanation. Then now the ethics, now practice. So therefore now since the affectionate sort of attitude is something good, something useful, in the terms of the society, in terms of the family, also these things are good. Now the conclusion is the warm-heartedness or respect other, sense of concern of others' well-being. These are ethics now. Ethic means not God created, God because of the mark, but simply, after all, good and bad, or positive and negative, no absolute. Judging our experience by nature, we want happy, joyfulness. We do not want suffering, pain. So those things which causing pain is negative. Those things which causing joyfulness is positive. So here also is short-term, long-term. Drugs, alcohol, or secret, or these things for temporary you may relieve something. But for long run, very, very bad for our kasota, for our health. So therefore, even I think too much sort of smoke. Here, I think I would like to share these young people. When I was in Peking, 1954, 55, at least, I think 5-6 months, I remained in Peking. During those periods, you see, sort of several meetings with Chairman Mao Zedong, and also you see the many occasions, lunch party. The Chairman Mao, sort of many occasions, Chairman Mao also you see kasota, kasumari, present. So whenever you see Chairman Mao there, I also there. He always you see kasota favor me, just his next. So, as a Chinese tradition, you see the big plate in the center, and each person, you see, some smaller sort of plate, and put, and then eat. So occasionally, Chairman Mao's own plate, with his own chopstick, you see, put some food to my plate. So one way is quite honor. Chairman Mao, you see, sharing from his own plate. But at the same time, some part of my brain, little cautious, he always coughing, and too much smoke. So I might get his sort of the coughing virus. I think you also, I think, may have. You see, one dear friend spent with him, that's him or her. Their friend always, you see, because of smoking too much. Whenever you see your friend come, your room full of smoke. Then sometimes I think you may feel, oh, my friend, I love him, or I love her, but too much smoke. That kind of a feeling, isn't it? So immediately, you see, creates some problems. So you see, some certain things, you see, for temporary, some kind of sort of the relief way. Just I want to share some another story. I don't know now. I too much. Okay. So I think I want to tell you during 13th Dalai Lama, when this is one sort of building he constructing. So some of the workers, you see, very fond, they snuff. Then during that period, the 13th Dalai Lama, you see, put some restriction about tobacco. So then, one occasion, 13th Dalai Lama is coming to watch the sort of building the house. And then when he approached, so he coming this side. Some workers, short period sort of relax, they like that, and then they express that this loader, 다 나다디 저거다는 나다디기 저 자용이스 당천은 나다디기 아니 당처 상족이스 니 부두전에 나다디기 니 상족이스 다 딘제 판토고지 다 도다 지금 말쓰고 다 가인베 그제스로
So as the Thirteenth Dalai Lama was walking from the other side of the wall, on the other side there was a group of workers who were taking a little rest, and then they were chatting among themselves, saying that while they were snuffing, they were saying, this is snuff. Taking snuff is such a wonderful thing that when you feel tired, it gives you a temporary relief. When you feel hungry, actually, when you take a little puff of snuff, it sort of relieves the hunger. And even when you feel sleepy, it wakes you up. Such a wonderful thing. And why is the Dalai Lama putting a ban on tobacco?
Once he heard that, he returned. Go back. So like that. So these things, you see, alcohol or the smoke, is for temporary some benefit, but long run not good. So use our intelligence. For temporary certain things, bully other. Temporary you feel, oh, now you gain something. Cheating other people. Although there's some stress, you see there, stress or anxiety there. But for the time being, my cheating, my tell lie, quite successful, feel happy. But long run, these things are very bad. So we have this human intelligence. So we human being, human mammal, have the ability to judge short-term interest, long-term interest. So use this intelligence. Physical action, mental action, those temporarily some kind of happy satisfaction, but long run harmful. Then we must choose the long-term interest is more important than short-term. That's the way to develop the moral principle. Moral principle not come from force, but come from volunteer. And moral ethics, some kind of self-discipline. Self-discipline means protect your own interest, not others' interest. Like, I think, a doctor, now for example, you see, my doctor, I annually taking sort of the medical checkup. So they say, my weight, even this was weight, still around, I think, kg 76, 77. So the doctors say, still should reduce. So my weight should be below 75. So, because of my own interest, so when some delicious food, I want to take more. But from one corner of my mind, now the doctor state my weight should be reduced. So I must stop here. So that's self-discipline. Not serving doctor, but protect my own sort of benefit. That's the moral principle. That is self-discipline. So moral principle is like that. If I harm other, I get negative consequences. If I do help other, I got benefit. That's the way develop a moral principle. Not based, Buddha said that, no. God said that, no. Our country's constitution said that, no. For our own interest, through awareness, through education. So therefore, now, from kindergarten up to university level, you see, yes, we have plenty of material. I think the Hindu traditions all those Hindu traditions were practice of shamatha and practice of vipassana there. There's some explanation about mind, how to develop single-pointed mind, or how to develop insight, deeper way. So, naturally, some explanation about mind, about emotion, all is in there. And then, in Buddhist sort of literature, also is a lot of sort of explanation about mind, emotion. So we can take information from these texts, not because they not present as a sort of religious or subject. No, just sort of academic subject, like that. So now I think the university already pay serious attention about that. Mainly, you see, your Vice Chancellor and I that word I don't know. But I know this phrase, you see, very well. And you also. So therefore, now you have this sort of ability. And perhaps That's only my suggestion. I think set up from university some kind of small sort of group or committee carry research how to introduce, how to make sort of curriculum which can put in our existing secular education field. Because from kindergarten up to university, I think with help of scientists, our sort of mind life, because of the institution, certainly you see, can involve. So now, you see, with modern sort of technology, you can easily discuss. Although their physical remain in far away, but their mind always close each other. So therefore, you see, you can communicate using these people. So I think a university, should set up sort of committee. So then perhaps, I think next year, or after 6 months, some concrete sort of proposal comes. Then very good. That also, you see, should not expect the all sort of universities in this country will follow that. No, not thinking that way. Simply, as a sort of a pilot project, and then start some school and look what the result after 5 years, after 10 years, if really quite significant, then will follow more school, more college, more university. That's why recently I was in Patna. I had sort of some discussion with Chief Minister. So again, I don't know if you are because of the rank or these things. I know his face very well. So you see, I suggested to the Chief Minister and you also. You see, since the Chief Minister is really showing genuine interest about the Buddha Dharma and these things. Then I told, in Bihar state, they say, you see, the very name Bihar is Vihara. So something very, very special, very, very, very unique. And Jain, as a Mahavira, also in Bihar. And Shariputra, Mangalpu, also is born in Bihar. So some special connection. So then I suggest Chief Minister and you also, worthwhile, come to here to participate our meeting. Then you get some sort of clearer picture how to introduce secular ethics in modern education. So perhaps I think your state, some school, you can, after we finished using that concrete sort of draft, then you can start as a sort of experiment. Then we'll see. Then successful, then more discussion with other states like UP or other states, West Bengal, or all these states. I think ultimately India, I think the Kasore, the appropriate, yes, like that. So that's my talk. Now some further discussions. And scientists, I think afternoon or...
After that. So the Vice Chancellor and then students as...
I would like the students here to express their views after what His Holiness said. Would you be able to take this a little further? Because you're right there at the so-called receiving end. How would you think that we can take these thoughts forward in a practicable fashion for our curriculum? Yes.
I think firstly, I would like to ask these young students, are we facing some moral crisis, including India? Do you see that? We often used to say, dirty politics. The politics itself, not necessarily dirty. But people who involved in politics, lack of moral principle. Cleverness there, but lack of sense of responsibility. That also is a sense of responsibility, very much related with the sense of sort of the moral principle. So politics become dirty. Now, as I mentioned earlier, religion also become dirty. Not necessarily religion is something wrong, but people who involve, who preach in religion, their mind selfish, self-centered, and only sort of interested about their own money, sex, like that. So then religion also becomes dirty. So I think scientists also, you see, think only, you see, their own sort of ambition, not thinking sort of negative consequences, then like nuclear weapons or chemical weapons, where, chemical survey, biological weapons, these things. Also, you see, lack of sort of, because of the lack of holistic view and lack of moral responsibility. So therefore, every sort of our professions, whether becoming some positive, some useful for people or not, ultimately depend here. So you all agree, something moral crisis there, isn't it? Now, how can sort of eliminate that moral crisis through prayer? Is sufficient?
Commonsensical, intelligent thinking.
Kasa? Oh, good. Now, how to build that? Through education.
And cultivation.
I think basically, looks, you see, because of the majority, I think, agree. If you see anyone who disagree, please mention, argue. Now, perhaps, I think this is a little bit, you see, show off where? So. Show off. I think myself, the Tudinjimbo also, and then some more people here. We trained through debate. So we like disagreement, and then further debate.
Yes, please, tell us.
Tashidalai Dalai Lama.
The
The point was that my own education, school education, has been in one of the largest schools in the world. I'm from Lucknow, and we used to have since the very beginning this paper on moral teaching, which was called MT, and even later on it was converted into something called SUPW. But because it was not a proper paper which had a lot of marks associated with it and stuff like that, the periods were completely wasted. I mean, we were given off and we could just go and have fun and go to the canteen and sit in the cafeteria. The idea, I think the committee which is drafting this new paper for the new semester on that 4-year course, it must be ensured that this paper is treated seriously and say in the matter of marks, not as an added burden on the student, because we already have a lot of other papers to deal with in our honors courses or in the program courses, but definitely in a more creative way in which we can engage with this paper on different lines, just as not only on the academic burden basis, but on different lines, but not making it so irrelevant as well that, nobody wants to engage with it either.
Oh, well, I agree with you. I have, as I said, there is no set standard or prescribed way to take this forward. Of course, to my mind, holiness, it's very important to somehow awaken the inner conscience in some fashion. If I knew the way, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. But I must tell you something, holiness, and I would like your views on this. If you look at some specific instances of the lives of great people, the really evolved people, then you get some very practical directions on how one can conduct one's own life. And once again, I revert back to Mahatma Gandhi, and if you read his autobiography, there are so many occasions in the life of Mahatma Gandhi when he had to make a choice and he took the moral path. And he was ready to pay any price and bear any burden for that path. And these are specific instances. For instance, holiness. Gandhiji always said that for him, truth was supreme, that he would not sacrifice his adherence to truth. And from that stemmed all his actions. But he used his intelligence to understand what the truth was. And there are so many examples in his life. When he launched civil disobedience the first time in India, it was a huge success. It looked like the country will be free in no time. From the south to the north and east-west, people responded by going on strike, by not cooperating. But there was this one small incident at Chauri Chora, where a mob set fire to a police station and burnt alive the policemen there. And everyone told him, don't take this seriously. It is a small incident. But he said, where my belief in non-violence is concerned, I cannot allow even the smallest compromise. And he called the agitation off against the advice of Jawaharlal Nehru and others. That is the moral path, that no compromises. And so you look at the examples, and I wonder if we can put some of these in the curriculum and analyze and discuss, so what were the consequences? Did India in the long run suffer, or did it not? You must ask yourself this question. Don't just believe that because Gandhiji did it, it was correct. Similarly, holiness, when he started practicing as a lawyer, he began to evolve spiritually because he believed that litigants should not go to court. The most important thing for litigants was that he would tell his clients, first tell me the truth. Are you telling me the truth or not? Once he would ascertain the truth, then he would try and see how he could get the other side to come and talk to them and see if they could reach an understanding based on truth. There was no politicking, only truth. And as a policy, it worked. Gandhi was so successful as a lawyer. He made huge sums of money. It's a different matter that he used that money for public good. He didn't keep it for himself. But he was very successful. So even as a policy, honesty is a good thing. It is important to adhere to that and don't look for short-term gains. Stay the course. And so, Holiness, I believe that examples from the lives of the great beings must be in the curriculum. And they must discuss. And you must ask every day, in what way have I practiced this in my life? It is so easy for all of us to pretend to be holier than thou, to be morally indignant about somebody else's misdemeanor. But where have we looked at ourselves? Are we examining our lives on earth? As His Holiness said, when we pray to Ganesh, do we ask that the rest of the day, will Ganesh forgive me for what I'm going to do? So that, I believe, Holiness, this practical aspect, I think every student, if they enroll in this curriculum, in this course, they must maintain a diary where they record their own actions. And then they read that aloud to show whether they have learned anything or have they failed. And that, I believe, may help, Holiness. I don't know. Sometimes the Vice Chancellor is held accountable for everything in this university, and by that logic, I will certainly fail, you see.
Kajul sir, Kajul. Correct. Hello. Yes, certainly. Certainly. This is some of the well-known individuals who become very successful because of their whole life carried according moral principle and truth. But then some student may say, oh, Gandhi, wonderful, but he is exceptional. I can't do that. Do you say that? I think that possibility. So I think, so therefore, we can sort of make example some of these individuals. I usually say mentioned Nagarjuna, these great Indian scholars, thinkers, mainly from South India, not North. You from?
I'm from Banaras.
Banaras is so North. You also North. Oh, Delhi itself. So I usually say, South Indian brain is something very special. So in any way, see, I always telling people, Nagarjuna, even Buddha himself, you see, become such person because they basically human being. Basically, we also have same potential. So we must recognize that and utilize that potential. Otherwise, we often say, oh, that's exception. I can't do that. So you already carried or commercial.
So we often seek a way out by saying that, oh, such and such examples are exceptional, and I cannot do this. We give ourselves an excuse.
So I would like you to emphasis. So long we human being, perhaps not retarded, then fully developed human intelligence, we all have this potential. Then basically, everyone want happy life. Nobody want trouble, isn't it? I often telling people, those people whose life in the midst of in the midst of trouble, I think even these people, although it's a trouble, they almost you see part of their life. But even these people, morning at least they wish, or today less trouble. So nobody wants trouble. Why? Nobody wants trouble, but a lot of trouble, essentially our own creation. Why? There's something wrong. Judgment also wrong. And mainly sense of responsibility or because of the motivation, something wrong. Therefore, I think we should show you have all the potential. And these great sort of people is example. I think then make connection, something. This is my feeling.
Yes, Holiness. The great saint poet Kabir said the same thing. कस्तूरी कुंडल बसे मृग ढूंढे वन माही ऐसे घट घट राम है दुनिया देखे नाही. That just as the musk deer in the forest roams the entire forest trying to trace the origin of the scent that emanates from its own belly, in exactly the same way, our God resides inside us, but we roam the whole world trying to find it. It's really inside us. We have the same potential to be like others.
Very good.
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for your ideas and views about moral ethics. But one thing, sir, I have different opinion, and I'm sorry to say my opinion. Sir, you have told that love, compassion, non-violence, by these means we can solve all the problems. But I think in some cases, violence is very necessary. If you have the example of Mahabharata, the war of Mahabharata justify violence in a very rational way. There is no other option. After all the conciliation, after all the cooperation, after all the ideas, Kauravas are never agree to do something for the favor of Pandavas. And as far as Mahatma Gandhi, he have written in Young India, suppose a person have turned a mad and he's running furiously with a gun, and he's killing everyone who is coming in front of him. In that case, it is our duty to kill him rather than to preach him non-violence. And last example, sir, I don't know it is possible here, but I hope people understand. 5 boys or 5 people have killed a brave girl in 15 days back. I don't think that those 5 people deserve any love, compassion, or non-violence. They deserve harsher punishment, sir. And I want your opinion, sir, about this.
Witness, I think.
Firstly, real demarcation, violence and non-violence is not on action. Physical action, verbal action, mental action. Ultimately, real demarcation, violence, non-violence, is mental action. One example. Out of motivation, try to cheat, try to deceive, or try to take advantage, and saying nice thing, and a big smile, and sometimes with gift. Actually, it's a very serious violence. Out of genuine sense of concern of their well-being, use harsh word, a negative sort of face. Like, I think, very kind parent and the children. For example, you see children, playing, running, and danger follow. Right? Oh, shouting, don't do that. And if necessary, like that. This, out of sense of concern of their well-being, is non-violence. If necessary, beating, non-violence. Now, in Buddha's own sort of story, there, in order to save a life of 999 people, eliminate one person. Not out of hatred to kill that person, but out of sense of concern of 2 things. One, 999 persons' life. Concern, save their, protect their life. Then also protect the sin of killing 999 persons from that one individual. To protect that, to eliminate that. And there is no other choice, no other way except eliminate. Then he killed that person. So, deeper level, that's non-violent action. Clear? So therefore, look the reality. If the reality really need some sort of harsh method for long-term benefit, then it's essentially non-violence, like that. So all this we need, as you mentioned, judgment, thoroughly, not decide by emotion, but decide by the fuller knowledge about reality.
Yes, I'll come to you.
My question is to the Holiness. Sir, I'm in a dilemma. And this example goes back to the one that you mentioned about the construction workers who were puffing tobacco. To you, sir, as well. Sir, you have poverty. They are helpless, you know. They don't have food. They don't have proper place to sleep. They don't have a blanket to cover themselves. In a situation like this, you cannot become an idealistic communist and say that we are going to bridge the gap. You cannot provide a blanket. You cannot give food to everyone. So in such a situation, if he has only this tobacco just puff to escape out of the harsh realities of this world. What can we do? We cannot just sit down here and discuss that this is something happening, this is something not good, tobacco puffing is not good, but what is the real solution to it?
가르사. 나 심어서.
나다 군주 조선배 나다 텐
뭐로?
그거는 와라 조부지 배 나다 텐에 매베이나 아니 먼저 나다 텐 조고 말했을 때 되게 아유 나서 그런 대봤다고 물어봤어
쪼지 가래.
조부 냠다 주로
나다 택내시.
나다 텐 야다 텐이 그런 나지
뭐로?
소칼이
뭐로?
용기 여비
뭐로?
나서 대봤대 조서 되는 초도 초서 텐 조고 말했을 때 되게 알아서 그런 그런 신다 요마
다들 배는 크도 되고 고마 파테제 겨 나한테는 손들어 왜 대소 가 그러봐
Tina thik samtang baina sta thanati yaga nalo ya kyobu saya thue metni khoya metni mangbu yores
그러봐
ka she dinde nalo ne thamate ya ni ta na ta thya so de yong sig
너
ta du zu thetli ya ani ma zu mi kyu ma zo ngo ne ani ji me changma la ne object ja ga ta de de pro to ma ta ta phe ga yo sta di kudu che bu de ya ma re sin lam ne de yo ma was kwan cho te
one story I think more than I think 30 years ago as I mentioned earlier, is my beloved tutor, one local Tibetan in Dharamsala, received Upasika vow. Then my guru, my tutor, explained, once you take this Upasika vow fully, then one precept, now should not sort of drink alcohol. And then that is a poor person, very humbly asking, now that I can't do. That my tutor told him, then okay, little. So like that, always, exceptions always there. The Gobludu so, Chidam mixer, Tajupin Tawin so.
Nagarjuna said in one of his texts that, with the ability to make distinctions between general propositions and exceptions is actually something that is common to all the great treatises, all the great.
Like abortion, basically, it is act of killing, should avoid. But particular case, unless you take abortion, either is the son or the child die, or the mother, particularly mother, die. Then, exception. Killing human being, prohibited. But the particular case, exception. Like that. That's always happen. But all this is judgment for greater interest, benefit for greater number. That's more important.
Sir, but then the debate comes into action when we understand a country like India, and we understand there are so many people who are dying out of mouth cancer, so many people dying out of cancer because they consume tobacco. So, and if we try and analyze that, a large proportion of this are the poor people who are doing it out of frustration.
I think the reasons of the story rapping in bus, I don't think is a
The recent tragic incident, again, we cannot really attribute it to just a pure social condition.
Yeah. Of course, now, our meeting, now this problem, we are not discussing So how to solve case to case? No, we are not a lawyer. We are trying to tackle the foundation of, you see, the source of these problems. So now maybe I may sort of mention here. When I meet young people, these people whose age below 30, below 20, I think any below 20, raise hand. Oh, yes, so truly, you are truly generation of this 21st century. And I think you also, I think between generation of 21st century and 20th century. Now you, me, this, we are belongs 20th century's generation, isn't it? So, 20th century gone. Only sort of history now, good or bad, already gone. We can't help. Now, 21st century, just the beginning. Over 1 decade passed. More than nearly now 9 decades, or more than 8 decades yet to come. So you, the generation of 21st century, now it is your sort of opportunity. Think seriously how to build this 21st century be more happier century, more peaceful century. If we take for granted existing sort of the reality, including education, I think population definitely increase. The natural resources and population increase, and then also people's living standard must uplift. See, they reduce this gap, rich and poor, does not mean rich people eliminate. No. As you see, you mentioned Mahatma Gandhi or these rich family. You see, the point is, make money, successful. At the same time, one time in Dharamsala, one family from Bombay came to see me. And as usual, they looks the wealthy family. So they asked me blessing. Then I told them, I have nothing in the form of blessing to offer or something. Nothing. You have the source of blessing. That means you are quite wealthy family. So from your profit, helping these street children, homeless people in Bombay, in slums area, or these things, from your money, provide facility for education and health. That's the way to bring blessing from your money. So again, some of these sort of billionaires, they never thought it's others' feeling, others' poverty. They're simply showing their diamond rings and good car and good building. Always say, oh, we are rich. What use? These rich people, illness, I think no exception. And death, no exception. Only, I think the more and more poorer people may complain. May not in front, but behind say, oh, rubbish, like that. One time I mentioned in Washington, in a public talk, the richest country's capital, Washington, in suburb, Washington, many poor people there. And that also, you see, creates some kind of insecure. insecure in this area. Because naturally, poor people, in their eyes, some rich people, see their luxurious life, there is some kind of unequal and some kind of a grievance there. And that's frustration. Frustration brings anger. Anger brings violence. So rich people also suffer. They cannot escape from America. One my Indian friend, they're very rich, in order to escape from, because of heavy taxes, he took citizen of another country. I feel it's immoral, really. So Indian should be proud as a citizen of this country. Money matter, of course, the other countries also there. But it's a 1,000-year-old civilization. I think this country, I feel, this country really, I think Indian should love your country. Look, judging. Although today, Mahatma Gandhi also, you see, looks very poor. Like us with the beggar. Not judging on that, judging his brain, his inner quality. So that respect, I think 1,000 years, this country really produced wonderful, limitless thinkers, philosophers. I think you should feel proud. Now important is keep these, important is while you are copying materialistic sort of value, meantime, keep 1,000-year-old India's treasures. Then you become happier person. Material facility also good and mentally also rich. So in any way, I think I forgot the main point of population increasing. So the materialistic sort of things, also you see we need more development. So then natural resources also now some limitations. So it is absolutely not right just you see take for granted our existing sort of way of life. The other day, yesterday also I mentioned, look, these big cities, a lot of cars, and feel, oh, now much development. If this sort of trend continuously, 1 billion Indian possess 1 billion car, how can manage? Isn't it? Difficult. Difficult. A lot of sort of construction, factories or hotels in these land, because of the farmland. Difficult. Ultimately, we cannot eat these things. We need grains. These farmers are really, they are supply of our life. Missions. So secondary sort of, when even Vice Chancellor feel very hungry, then I think your main sort of mind goes food, not this technology. So I think we really need to pay more attention. So now the problem, then also global warming. The weather pattern also now changing. So fortunately, we are quite fortunate now. Now we will not see these problems. I think before serious problems come, I think we already either heaven or hell. So you have to face these things. So must think seriously, should not content existing situation. Must think more because innovation survey. Innovation. And here, key factor is education. Like that I want to share. Yes, no?
Well, His Holiness will be here for a long stretch of time today. So at this point in time, I think we need to conclude this session, and I think something very concrete and constructive has emerged because of your presence here, Holiness. At least in my mind, there is more clarity, and I have every reason to believe, Holiness, that we will come back with something concrete in our curriculum, and we will take your blessings and support for that.
You can
I
see
think
the
we-
sunshine has begun to stream. You can see it from the windows.
Okay,
Say something.
good. Now I really feel now time come. Now within say next few months we must produce concrete sort of draft or a curriculum. Firstly, I mean, at once is complete form will not have because of will not possible. So some sort of draft, then circulate more people and carry. I think firstly circulate more people who really have sort of interest in this field. Then for temporary some finalize and then carry as an experiment. Then again is a judge the result, and according the result, what we need more, what we sort of what we need change. Then after a few years, then I think one sort of textbook, one or few textbook can be then kasuta finalized. So I think the such sort of work is carried by name, university name, I think more appropriate. That I really feel. Then also I, as the honorary professor, so I also feel, happy. So I cannot share. So from here, nothing empty here, nothing. As a hopeless professor. But other day also, yesterday also I mentioned, because of holy name, Dalai Lama. So I received, because of the quite often some sort of because of the offering. So I set up Kasachuti, the trust. So I can make available some sort of financial thing for your work. Specifically work for that, not because of shawl shamamache.
Right.
We must really choose few people and give them responsibility. Within few months or 6 months, must produce. Clear. Isn't it? What a suggestion? A scientist. So in this subject, I think you scientists, sometimes I describe as my guru. Really wonderful. And sometimes my mind, I think, more or less fixed because it's a training that way. And also quite old. So these scientists, genuine scientists, their mind is very open. But some scientists, as I mentioned earlier, is quite fixed. Their own subject. So these scientists, I know since many years, really open-minded. Their investigations really carry with open mind and unbiased. So they will find real truth. Wonderful. So I'm looking forward. Listen, this is your comment afternoon where? After tea. Good.
Can I thank His Holiness, and I can't thank you enough, and also our Vice Chancellor for this wonderful opening session. Let's give them a warm hand. We break for tea for 15 minutes, and 15 minutes we will be back. Thank you.
He is served outside, just here from that door. It's just behind this on the other side.